We all woke up in the comfort of our own homes today. We all chose what we ate for breakfast. We all chose the clothes we have on right now. We all chose to be here. Essentially, we have a choice about most of the things in our life, but this is not the case for everyone. In fact, 2.2 million Americans have very limited choices right now. This is because they are in prison. America is supposed to be the land of the free, a place where people can come to escape persecution and find opportunity and the chance for a better life. It disregards race, socioeconomic standing, and sex in order to grant justice to all. But we are shackling up our citizens and wrongfully throwing them into prisons with overly harsh sentences, forcing them to spend the rest of their lives there with almost no chance of getting out. America has the highest incarceration rate in the entire world. We only have 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. Our nation's current concept of justice is completely antithetical to the very foundation our nation was built on. Thousands of Americans have fallen victim to our nation's oppressive justice system and its inequitable elements. Today, I want to discuss 3 of these elements with you. They are mandatory minimums, 3-strike laws, and racial disparities. Mandatory minimums are sentences fixed by Congress that set minimum periods of imprisonment an individual must serve for committing a crime, usually crimes involving drugs. They are consistently applied throughout all courtrooms, which seems fair in theory. But what if 2 people are charged with selling 28 grams of cocaine? One of them is a single mother struggling to buy her baby formula, and the other is just trying to make a quick buck. It seems unfair that both of these people will have to spend at least 5 years in prison, especially considering their different motives for committing the crime. When mandatory minimums are involved, judges must blindly classify citizens as a whole, rather than regarding them as individuals. They are forced to ignore factors that would usually prompt them to give a shorter sentence, and they are only allowed to give longer sentences. This one-size-fits-all mentality should not be how our justice system works. People should serve punishments that fit their crime rather than the crimes of the majority. Another problem in our justice system are 3-strike laws. These laws are meant for recidivists or repeat offenders who have committed 3 felonies. No matter what the circumstances are surrounding these felonies, the person must be given a life sentence without parole. This truly takes away the judge's ability to give a sentence that fits the crime, especially if the person being sent to prison does not deserve to be there for the rest of their life. For example, imagine someone who had committed 2 felonies, decided they wanted to change their life for the better. They stay out of trouble and work hard to act as an upstanding citizen until one day, despite their best efforts, they get into a fight and are then charged with aggravated assault. Because of this one mistake, the person will have to spend the rest of their life locked behind bars with almost no chance of getting out. The institution that initiated this law did so with the intention of correlating it to baseball. 3 strikes and you are out. But there is one key component of the sport that they fail to regard. Even in baseball, no matter how many times you get 3 strikes, you will always be given the chance to redeem yourself later in that same game or in another game. And while not all criminals deserve this sense of unlimited chances, there are some out there who have made honest mistakes or are willing to make a change. Our justice system should account for these individuals instead of overcrowding them into prisons. They should put in place a system for them to properly rehabilitate themselves and rejoin society. 3-strike laws and mandatory minimums were meant to act as deterrents to stop people from committing crimes, but they really aren't working. All they're doing are contributing to the exponential growth we now see in our prison population. Besides the flaws in the laws that make up our justice system, there are also flaws within the judges themselves. On many accounts, judges will give sentences that are more harsh towards Black offenders than white offenders for committing the same crime. This creates racial disparities in our sentencing system. The United States actually has an extensive sentencing guideline that judges are implored to use. Using this guideline allows for people in similar situations being charged with similar crimes to receive similar sentences. It allows for the judge to evaluate the individual and their circumstances and give them a sentence that truly fits their crime. In theory, using this guideline should make everyone equal in the eyes of the justice system. But while using this guideline is advised, it is by no means mandatory. Judges take advantage of this and give sentences that are more lenient towards white offenders while acting more harshly towards black offenders. Because of the war on drugs, it has become easy for officers to target black communities and herd them into courtrooms. While there, they fail to find the same leniency shown to their white peers and are treated more harshly by our justice system. One study conducted by the Sarasota Herald Tribune found that half the counties in Florida give sentences that are twice as long towards black offenders than white offenders in felony drug possession cases. The study also cited 2 separate cases where both defendants were charged with selling cocaine. Both defendants pled guilty to their crime, and both defendants scored 28 points in the sentencing guideline. They even had the same judge presiding over their case. But while one of them was only given probation and sent to drug rehab, the other was sentenced to 13 months in state prison. So why was one defendant given a sentence that was more lenient than the other? Simply for the fact that he is white, and the other defendant is black. Mandatory minimums, 3-strike laws, and racial disparities are all problems in our justice system. So how do we counteract these problems? Well, it starts when we use our right to vote. There are laws out there aimed at improving our justice system and making it more fair. One of these bills is the Smarter Sentencing Act, which is aimed at reducing mandatory minimum sentences in order to create room for people with special circumstances to get shorter sentences. Prisons in our country should not be used to lock away people for life, but rather as a way to properly rehabilitate them and allow them to rejoin society. We cannot use one paintbrush to paint every criminal, but we should instead take into account all perspectives in order to grant appropriate justice for all. Our sentencing system should reflect this, and by staying aware and active in politics, we can take the necessary steps to improve our justice system. So remember that you have the power to make choices today. Remember that you can choose to make a better future for yourself and everyone wronged by our justice system. Thank you.